Welcome back to Clark's Ring Rants. Let's get straight into today's video. And today I wanted to talk about Oleksandr Usyk and his plans for 2026 and what this could mean for the rest of the heavyweight division. Now, in his most recent fight in July of last year, Oleksandr Usyk knocked out Daniel Dubois to once again become undisputed heavyweight world champion. Now, after this fight, I was of the belief that this would be the perfect moment for Oleksandr Usyk to walk away from the sport and call it a day. There's nothing more he can achieve to surpass what he's already achieved. He's an all-time great. He's one of the best heavyweights of all time. He's one of the best cruiserweights of all time. He's 38 years of age. He's starting to decline. Walk away now. That would have been my advice to Oleksandr Usyk. But obviously, I understand for a fighter, it's not that easy to walk away, and there's always one more challenge out there for you. So once Usyk had decided not to walk away and we didn't get any retirement announcement, we in fact got the opposite, and that was that Oleksandr Usyk intended to fight on till the age of 41. Now this meant we got another 2 or 3 years of Oleksandr Usyk and maybe 3 or 4 more fights. So the big question was, who's he going to take on in these fights? Who are they going to line up for him this time? Because he's beaten everyone that's been put in front of him so far. Now, originally last year, Tyson Fury was angling for that trilogy fight, still holding the belief that he beat Usyk in the first 2 fights, but that didn't gather any traction, and Oleksandr Usyk sort of ignored those rumours. That fight isn't happening. So the question then was, who would Oleksandr Usyk look to face next? Now, last year, Joseph Parker was effectively mandatory for that WBO belt. He was next in line. He was waiting patiently, and he'd been promised that Oleksandr Usyk fight. But then Turki Al-Sheikh announced he had no interest in making that fight, so that sort of threw a dampener on that one, and we weren't going to get the Joseph Parker fight. So who could he fight next, and what is going to happen with the WBO situation? Well, we got an answer to that when Joseph Parker took on Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley, of course, won that fight, stopping Joseph Parker late, and took his position as WBO mandatory. Immediately then, negotiations began between Team Wardley and Team Usyk for a potential fight in 2026. Nothing materialised. Usyk ultimately decided to go in another direction, saying he didn't really have any interest in the Wardley fight. It didn't motivate him. He wasn't bothered. He wasn't happy with the numbers. So that fight didn't happen. What then happened, which surprised a few people, was Usyk actually vacated the WBO belt and elevated Fabio Wardley to full champion. Now, this left many people thinking, is this a duck? Why does he not want to fight Fabio Wardley? What is it? Now, I must say, I don't think Usyk is scared of Fabio Wardley in any way, shape or form. I just think he wasn't up for that fight. He didn't really want it. He wasn't motivated. He was looking at this stage of his career for the highest paying purses possible, and Fabio Wardley just wasn't going to bring him that. So the question is then, who will he look to fight instead in 2026? Now, we do have Moses Itauma emerging, and he does fight later on this month. That is a fight that has been touted, and Turkey has shown an interest in putting that fight on. I believe Usyk would take this fight. I believe this is, importantly, a fight that would motivate Usyk to turn up and give it 100%. Because the thing is, when you get to Usyk's age, when you've achieved everything he has, when you've been to the top of the mountain, you've been down to the well, you've dug in, you've dug deep, and you've come out the other side, not many things are going to motivate you the way they would have before the success. But I do think a fight with Itauma, who is the next generation, the wonder kid, the prodigy, it could almost be a passing of the torch fight, and this could motivate Usyk to dig down for one last big performance. That is a fight I would potentially like to see. I think Moses Itauma is exciting, he's fast, he's explosive, and that could bring out the best of Oleksandr Usyk. Another option and another fight I'd really like to see him take is one I mentioned in a previous video, which I'll leave a link to, and that is AGIT KABAYEL. Now, KABAYEL is on a fantastic run of form at the moment, coming off victories against Arslanbek Makhmudov, Frank Sanchez and Zhilei Zhang last year. KABAYEL is a brilliant body puncher, and a lot of people suspect Usyk may be susceptible to the old body shots. So this would make for a fantastic fight. KABAYEL would be fresh, he'd be ambitious, he'd be really motivated, and he would be coming to win. Would this fight motivate Usyk? Would he get up for this one? I don't know, we'll have to see. But assuming KABAYEL comes through his test this weekend, I think that mandatory will get called, and that's going to leave Usyk with a decision to make. Do I drop another belt? Do I avoid another top contender? Or do I take the fight and do I add another name to my legacy? Do I dare to be great? So those are the questions for Oleksandr Usyk ultimately. What is he going to do? Because he's sort of holding the whole division up at the moment. People are waiting on Usyk's call. They're waiting for him to say, I want to fight him, I don't want to fight him. And the problem I have with that is now you've got a lot of people in the heavyweight division that are just sitting on the sidelines. Fury hasn't fought in over a year. Joshua, withstanding the Jake Paul fight and what has recently happened to him, unfortunately, he'd not really fought in over a year. Dubois has not fought since the Usyk loss. Hrgovic has been quite active, to be fair. KABAYEL's not been very active at all. He's been out of the ring for nearly a year. Okoli's just having joke fights. People are just waiting around. Joseph Parker as well. Before his fight with Fabio Wardley, he had that blowout against Martin Bakole, but he'd essentially been out of the ring for nearly 2 years, just sitting around waiting for Usyk to ring, pick up the phone and get ready for that fight. So a lot of people are just waiting for Usyk now, and the longer he waits about and mulls over what he's going to do next, it leaves other fighters in limbo, and they can't really get on with their career because everyone's just waiting to see what Usyk does, and they're making their moves based off that. So I'd like to see him get a fight announced really soon and get the heavyweight division moving. Either take on the challengers or just vacate the belts. Because if he just wants to go and fight Fury in a trilogy for a big money spinner, I ain't got a problem with that. But get rid of the belts, stop clogging the division up, because there's so many good fights to be made in that heavyweight division and so many fights I want to see. But nobody wants to fight each other at the moment because they're just waiting on Oleksandr Usyk to make his next move. So those are my thoughts on Oleksandr Usyk and what he should do in the upcoming year and how that's going to have implications for the rest of the heavyweight division. But what do you think? Leave a comment, like this video, share with your friends and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.